Hey guys, Encore Performance here today, back with another video, and today we'll be doing another one of the Victors and Vanquished scenarios. This time it'll be Ragnar on hard difficulty as an Immortal, so that means no losses. We'll start right off the bat with Ragnar himself, of course, and the resources to train a couple berserks as long as a couple villagers. Now, this scenario is going to be a bit more set aside from others, as we won't be able to construct a town center or boom through it the usual way or build a bunch of buildings. Instead, it's going to be a very sort of role-play scenario with missions and stuff, but I really enjoy that actually. So you can see in the top right, we have 0 out of 30 Sega objectives complete. We'll need to complete all 30 to be deemed victorious. However, you can do all 50 if you want the achievement, but I'm not going to do that. We can expand our population by taking over other Jarldoms located across Norway here, which is obviously where we're going to be beginning. So we get to start in the same place as one of the greatest Age of Empires players of all time, the Viper. You can see here we'll have to do a bit of micro in order to free up the garrison guarding this. Thankfully, our berserks will heal over time, as that's the berserks, one of their bonuses, as well as the fact that Ragnar will heal over time, not because he's a berserk skin, but because he's a hero, so slow trickle of HP. As we continue to clear out all these Norse guarding this Jarldrum, which will grant us more population, it will grant us more buildings, and it'll grant us an additional villager, I believe, due to the fact that we actually can't construct any. We can only capture them or get them by taking Jarldrums. You can see right here, after luring a large number of orange berserks, we will be able to take the settlement. Now, this scenario has a lot of unique things. You can see on the screen there we have Nightfall, which is going to be a night and day cycle, which is actually a pretty cool feature. And what it'll do is during the night, our non-hero melee units will receive +2 attack. You can see we've gotten our villager, we've gotten another dock, tower, some herdables. So this is pretty good. Now you see all those fish there and you're like, I wonder, why isn't Encore making fishing chips? Well, due to the fact that here we get our first Sega objective, just as I'm speaking. Due to the fact that our ships are actually going to take a slow trickle of damage over time, so fishing ships or mass longboats isn't going to be effective. Now this is a cool way to make sure the scenario doesn't turn out like York, where you just have 100 longboats going around everywhere, so I quite like that. Now we do run into, speak of the devil, a couple Norse longboats before having to lure them back home. We first try and take them into the sea tower. Once we realize we don't have heated shot, we don't have ballistics, this tower is not going to work, and our transport ship's going to be destroyed. And you might also think, wow, that transport ship's sure moving quick. Because it's such a big map, our ship speed's going to be increased as well. You'll see here now, our tower is going to shoot at the longboats as we try and stop them with our transport, but it's not quite working. So then we decide we're going to get the Out of Its Element achievement by unloading our melee troops and attacking the ship. That's obviously just a joke, I already have that achievement, but that achievement it's kill a naval unit with a melee unit, I believe. We'll now repair our ships to prevent that slow trickle. At our pagan shrine here, we're going to have a bunch of techs that will either help out our infantry, help out our longboats, just those sorts of things. But in order to get these techs, A, you need to have the resources as they're costly. But you also need something called rune stones. Here another longboat chases us, which are cleverly represented by stone in-game. You'll get 1 for each Sega objective complete, so we already have 1 from finding that hero there. That's 1 out of the 30 we need, 50 we can get. Now, one bit of feedback I have is it'd be nice if you could know what the Sega objectives are, but I guess to contrast that a little bit, then maybe it'd be a bit too sped run. This adds like the adventure factor, but it's a bit of a pain at the end because I did end up getting the achievement after the fact, not as an Immortal, just knowing what those last couple are. It's like, how do I know? We'll now head west and begin to sack the English. Obviously, following history, this is going to go very well for us. We can find an undefended monastery here, weaken defenseless monk against our hero units as you can't convert those, as we'll begin to sack the monastery. Sacking buildings will give us a random amount of gold. We also have a large army will spawn back at home, which is once again going to be beneficial towards our conquest of the English, the French, the Germans, all of them. They must all feel the Vikings' wrath. Now, as we head directly west, we'll land in Northumbria. Now, this is going to be the English. However, it's just a couple of knights and men-at-arms. So, with our heroes, obviously with high HP, high attack, not being able to be converted by their monks, and the regenerating HP, we're able to clear this up quite easily and begin sacking buildings. These buildings are going to grant us a large amount of gold, but you can see that monastery. It has a flag on top of it. Maybe you're having flashbacks back to York and you're like, oh, so there's the relics I need to collect. But no, actually, pretty cool. This monastery's got a villager inside of it, which will switch to ours once it's destroyed. So we're just going to be able to sort of capture villagers almost like slaves around the place and get them to work for us. Or maybe they're fellow Vikings who want to join the pilgrimage. You can see also we've just found a hidden cache treasure by sacking a random house. So some houses you get lucky, some houses you don't. More likely than less, you won't get lucky, but that's just gambling. Then we can start to head north past Hadrian's Wall, really cool feature that is still the ruins of it there, and begin sacking the Gaels and Britons. This is revenge for what they did to the Western Roman Empire. But they don't like us bringing up their old enemies. They're going to bring a large army of Woad Raiders. Thankfully, they're pretty unupgraded, and once again, our heroes are still very solid units. So, by repeating our strategy that we used back in Norway, it all works against the barbarians. We're able to run in circles while they are pretty much powerless to do anything. Back at home, however, the Viking Raiders are going to come and raid us. That's obviously not good, since we can't lose units. Having a bunch of guys raid your economy, no matter what you're playing, is never good. Thankfully, Bjorn Ironside, the great and mighty Bjorn Ironside that we played in our last scenarios here, so we'll use him to defend. We will now get our second badge of prestige, or runestone if you like, by beating the mighty male Bridger. Now, I may have mispronounced that, and unfortunately I don't have the clip for it, but we did beat him, I swear. We'll then get our third prestige by finding the brothers Sigurd and Hagenwald in the Northern Isles, seeking plunder and adventure. But however, when the Viking Raiders come back, we've bested them by simply putting our sheep and cows, our true warriors, on the beach. They are too terrified to land, allowing our sea tower to sink their transport full of troops. Obviously, I'm joking. they just can't land because there's no space. We then get our fourth out of our 30 sagas by building something in the Hebrides. This building that we're making is a longhouse, even though it looks like a full work, because you have to remember, the Vikings weren't just conquerors, they were explorers. So we're going to get a lot of prestige just for building these longhouses in different areas. So we get another one for building it in England, putting us at 5 out of 30. And you might be thinking, Encore, you're flying through these. You're already a sixth away there. But I do promise you they will get a bit more challenging. As I say that though, we'll build a longhouse up here, which will grant us another one of our saga objectives. Then we'll head down to the south where we have a red blob. What's this? A hero we found simply by scouting with our sheep. This also actually completed one of our objectives. I simply hadn't noticed it up until this point, but it's pretty funny to me we found him with the sheep. As I say that as well, we'll build another longhouse up in the Shetlands, granting us 7 out of 30, which is obviously good. It's a step in the correct direction, not decision, even though it was a good decision to build up there clearly. And then we'll settle in the Faroes, putting us at 8 out of 30. So as mentioned, things are going well, but it's just the beginning, Now, we do have more issues with the Viking Raiders, who are kind of the only offensive force in this scenario. Obviously, if you start attacking Northumbria, as you can see here, they get pretty offensive, but the Viking Raiders will even send their own longboats to come, which was what was shown there. It almost took out our transport, as they tried to come home again, but our mighty herd stopped them. We start scouting everywhere, because I don't know where all the little islands are in east and west, north, south of England, but I know where Wales is. That's it, just because Dizzy's there, great Age of Empires caster, but that's all. Now, that hero we found with our sheep is going to be super useful, because it's the first ranged hero we have, so we can bring him to the walls and actually kill the tower. We can attack the enemy by throwing at him from over the walls, and he'll just sort of bug out. Not quite Hadrian's walls, but still walls. And then we can head just west of Scotland, sort of on the way to Ireland, not quite, and start sacking all the little monasteries along the coast there. Now, this is a bit incorrect maybe, but one of my heroes, for some reason, I don't know why, had 18,000 HP on it. So you can see right there it's got 18,000 HP. It's a little bit ridiculous, but I wanted to kill the castle. But then I decided, you know what, this is a bug. This is clearly too incorrect. I'm going to micro with Ivar and bring in my real army to kill the castle, do it fair and square, instead of abusing the fact my hero has 18,000 HP. However, I may go back on that later, just saying, may. See, he's down to only 17,000 HP now. It's so unfortunate. We will sack that castle, however, which will grant us another one of our saga objectives once it's been sacked, which it just has. Actually, I don't believe it's the castle itself. Perhaps it's the monasteries in the castle. We'll get Uba now, and it's pretty funny watching the Vikings TV show, which is not at all historically accurate. Like it is historically accurate, but it's not like bang on 100%. So we arrive in Greenland. Very good. So it's not exactly historically accurate, I'm saying, like just compared to the whole family dynamics and everything. But it is cool to see the named characters popping in and out and stuff. and it is a very well made show. We're at a third of our way through the objectives now, so very exciting. We'll then land in Greenland, where we will allow this lady that we found to meet her destiny, because when I first found her, we didn't get an objective, but then it said one of her objectives was to visit Greenland. So once we unload her there, we'll get that objective. And then by sacking York now, you can finally see we get another objective. And then by building a warrior's hall here, we get another objective, putting us at 12 out of 30. So we got a big bunch right there, which is obviously good. Then we will find another man here who's located in Greenland. Iceland. I apologize for before. This is Iceland, not Greenland. We'll find another hero here who won't grant us an objective, but it's a strong hero. Then, by settling in Iceland, we will get an objective. As we continue to finish off what's left of York here, just cleaning up the remnants. Obviously, we get gold from the houses, so it's not bad. Then we see a porky little king run by. There's a couple monks on Iceland. I'm not sure how these monks got to Iceland, but there are monks, so we'll deal with them so they can't convert our villagers before heading over to Ireland. But that porky little king we saw, he's going to be important later. We finally start to land, secure a beachhead on Ireland, as Ireland's going to be where some of our SEG objectives are, before destroying this tower, and out pops King Ayla, running for it. He thinks he's going to make it, but no. Instead we catch him, and we make him do the Blood Eagle, which, it's not so much him doing it, it's more us doing it to him, but it will be done. It's not quite represented in game, thankfully. Finally, before securing another objective by building a longhouse in Northern Ireland, this will put us at 15 out of 30 objectives, so halfway there, which is exciting for us, but not so exciting for Northumbria, the Gales, Wessex, Francia, all of the other players in the game. Now we see here, since the spoils are accumulating, the Jarls fall, more men want to come raiding, which means the raids from the Norse, well, I guess from the Viking raiders, who just happen to be the same color as the Norse, are going to increase, which isn't good. So we'll actually bring a lot of our heroes home and focus on the home front here in order to securing all of Norway, just pretty much securing everything up north for Ragnar's reign. There's a couple guys hiding up here, but we will be able to take this Jarldom without any problems, which once again, more population, more buildings, more villagers, so it's just a massive benefit. But if we head just a bit north of this Jarldom, we can find Lagertha, defended by her wolf and bear, which we will slay, but then get back. I'm not sure what's at play here. That doesn't count as Immortal. They weren't ours when we killed them. So we'll get Lagertha and her bear and wolf, which are going to be very good, as that's two more nice, helpful heroes, and it's another SEG objective. So 16 out of 30, just past the halfway mark. Before heading to one of our Jarldroms that was actually captured due to the fact that we don't have any herdables defending that one. Finally, we'll head east after having secured the majority of Norway, where we can slay Jarl Eystein Belly to seize his lands and herds. Again, I apologize to the Viper or anybody else who may be watching my videos on my pronunciation. As mentioned, we'll continue to just seize these little Jarldroms before, boom, another SEG objective. Ragnar united the cold into, well, pretty much, we united it all into a kingdom. Once again, the Viking raiders try to be a pest by sending their longbows for our transports, but we have just a regular throwing axeman here, which is good. Also, since we sheep scouted before and found a hero, I figure why not scout with the cow? And boom, there's Aslog, hidden in her suit. But the cow knows what's really up. The cow knows this is a princess. So we'll bring her back to Ragnar till we notice she has no attack, so we'll actually send her up north where she can just be guarded safely. Then, back in Ireland, we'll continue to scout around before we, just happen to find another hero. So, to be perfectly honest, I did resign a little and look at the map, but that can be expected, putting us at 2/3 complete. Now, this man's destiny was to come up north. So, we bring him up north to the Faroe Islands, unload him, get another objective. Very good for us. Of course, we're starting to feel like, hey, things are going well, we're at 20 out of 30, this is going nice and easy. There's a lot of cutout scenes of the Viking raiders seizing my Jarldroms, me seizing them back, sort of back and forth, or just exploring the map with how huge it is. But to be perfectly honest, I didn't feel bored once this scenario, as it was a very unique different way to play it. Here we now take some more Jarldroms, granting us some upgrades, and a Sega objective. But as I was saying, I think it's a very well made scenario in the fact that it's long lasting. Like you could play this for hours and hours, which I did if you look at the clock up top, and still have fun and just be intrigued about what you're going to find. So I enjoyed it very much. So again, just a big shout out to the creator of this DLC. Then we can actually head into Denmark, where we'll attack another Jarl drum, seizing it for our own. So Ragnar's really expanding his reach all over the place. This is going super well for him. Then, with the transport ship, we actually accidentally this time find another hero who is the Scourge of the Franks. Thankfully, to us, he's just another objective point. So, we'll grab that before heading more south to continue attacking the Norse. This doesn't so much look like Norse architecture anymore, but I understand you have 8 players, one of them has to be us. It's a bit tough to represent it all together, so it's alright. We'll slay these guys, even though I consider them more Saxons, before continuing our expansion and exploration. Now we have some old monks here who almost die, so we shove them into a ship, sail up north, and happen to find the gold of King Hrolf. This is another objective, surprisingly to me. Like, this is what I mean by not knowing them. I just happened to find some gold and get one, but I'm okay with it. Before returning to sack another monastery. By sacking both of these monasteries, it'll complete another objective, putting us at 5/6 of the way there. You keep seeing on screen, though, that we're losing our warrior halls as the Viking raiders are being annoying. We then find Olaf the White, who grants us another objective, putting us at 26 out of 30. I'm just showing them all here so you guys know which ones I got and when and how. We then return to England in order to try and sack it, but decide, you know what, let's not go for England. So we go to the island of Man, where we will destroy the monastery before building another of our longhouses, as the Vikings they have to settle everywhere, you know? And as the longhouse is built, we granted another villager, we're granted another Sega objective, leaving us with just 2 left. This is very good for our sake, obviously. Now, back in Ireland, one of the objectives that I had researched was you have to slay all the monasteries. So I'm like, okay, I'll get all the monasteries in Ireland. So I start fighting the natives there, being the Gaels and the Britons. But I just happened to kill the king, because I noticed he was a hero, but by killing the High King of all Ireland, that grants me another Sega objective, leaving us with just 1 left. Or so you think. There's a bit more than just that last objective. Finally, we attack with Ragnar once more, attacking an island now, and this grants us our 30th objective, putting us at 30 out of 30 on the Sega. So I think we've won for a moment. But no. Now we're granted a couple things, like we can build siege rams, but we also have one last challenge, which is the Jomsvikings Vikings. We can challenge them at one of our warrior halls, and right now, their walls are our allies somehow, but they're our enemies. So you can see here I try and attack, but I can't. But I decide, you know what? All these nasty berserks inside are berserk hero units that are young Vikings. Why don't I put them down? So I bring up my longboat, I bring up my throwing axeman, and I kill all these guys. And it's a good thing I did, because they are nasty to fight. But once they've all been picked off without much response, we will finally challenge the Jomsvikings. I did not realize how intense this would be. As dozens of longboats transport stream past me, I begin to panic. I've killed the majority of the berserks, but still. So I bring my transport, which he tries to block us with his transport. Obviously, he's been studying. And I come here before unloading my melee units in order to sink as many longboats of his as I can, which is going to be needed. Otherwise, it would be very bad to lose our transport. That'd defy the whole challenge. Before going back a bit on my words, our 17,000 HP hero, now 16,000, is going to take on the Jomsvikings by himself. We built a couple of longboats here, just because. This very high HP guy is just going to start putting the Vikings down one at a time. The Jomsvikings, obviously. We'll try and bring our throwing axeman in there, but he doesn't have as much HP. Now here, this is important. When we defeat the Jomsvikings, we'll get all their units, but their units are currently in a fight with the Gaels and Britons, so we're waiting until we see no more corpses appearing here, like till that fight is over, because I made the mistake. You kill the Jomsvikings, you get all their stuff, and boom, you lose a bunch of guys just because they're in the middle of a fight. So once we're certain that that fight is absolutely over, we can slay the last Jomsviking with our very normal HP unit, which once again, I could have done it without. It would have just been a lot more painful. So we bring Ragnar in to deliver the last blow, killing the Jomsvikings. Now this kills the Jomsvikings, but not the Norse. So we have a close call with our own Jomsvikings now. However, with a bit of micro, which is very easy to do with these berserks that run, but also they're sort of throwing axemen. Finally, completing the scenario for us. We must simply return to our Warriors Hall, press the silver crown that we have there, and are deemed victorious with 666 kills and 0 units lost. As I mentioned, this was an incredibly fun scenario to play. Thank you guys for watching if you made it this far. Hope you guys all have a good one. And yeah, again, just big shout out to Philadelphia, big shout out to you guys, big shout out to Age of Empires for still having monthly updates and everything. And I hope you guys all have a great day.